Russian bombardment and shelling going on quite violently as we speak. And we do assess that the Russians are beginning to make more momentum on the ground towards Kyiv, particularly from the east, not quite so much from the north.
That was the Pentagon spokesman today, and the Russians are starting to get their act together, as he said, especially up north. We'll talk about the south and the east in just a minute, but Kyiv is the key to Ukraine. That's where President Zelensky is. Let's zoom in a little bit. He was talking about from the east. That is the column that is moving. We'll take the map that shows you a much closer version of what's happening in Kyiv. We may not be getting there. Here it is. Boom. All right. So remember the great video of the tanks being attacked? That was on this road here into downtown Kyiv. This is the key area of Kyiv. And as you can see, the Russian forces are just over here. So almost in artillery range of downtown Kyiv, certainly within rocket range of downtown. Those are Russian-controlled areas. Here from the east is where the Russians are starting to move and position their tanks. They've gotten out of the columns and are taking the high ground around the city. Some of these bridges on the Dnieper River have been dropped. Some have not. We'll show you some of the video of the Russians moving here, and they have pretty good freedom of movement in the areas, especially the non-populated areas around Kyiv that they've started to set up for what could be a very long siege. We bring in retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, former U.S. Army Delta Force member, Green Beret commander, also served as Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. All right, General, as we look at the map, we know the Ukrainians have had a long time to create some nasty surprises for the Russians. Will they be able to hold out, and if so, for how long?
Yeah, that's hard to say, but look, their tenacity speaks for itself. I mean, who would have expected that they could have held out this long and been so effective against the Russians? I think what we're going to see in the next 48 hours, we're going to see a lot more bombardment. We're going to see a lot of probing attacks or reconnaissance. And I think probably the video you were referring to was, it most likely was a reconnaissance. Trying to find a weak spot to get into the city. But I think they'll come in on multiple axes, but I can assure you the Ukrainians have got some surprises for them. This is a perfect place for the use of these javelins that have been sent by the NATO countries.
We have some video of the javelins working against Russian tanks. It's pretty incredible, and you think on all these streets and in these buildings they can hide them. The Ukrainians have also been fairly successful in knocking off at least 3 of the Russian generals. Sometimes we've heard with snipers, sometimes we've heard with other attack methods, and publicized it. How significant is taking out top command and control, or is this just a terrible example or a good example of what happens in combined armed combat circa 2022?
It's a huge kudo to the Ukrainians for taking these generals out. You know, the first question you have to ask, why were those generals in positions that were so vulnerable? Why were the Ukrainians able to identify them and then take them out? And that is because what you're seeing is you're seeing a military that has not performed up to standard, has not performed up to expectations, and you are seeing generals now whose careers certainly are on the line, and they're out there now trying to troop lead from the front. And while that sounds like a good thing to do, it's not necessarily the best thing that they can do, simply because when you lose a commander, it throws the unit into turmoil, and then takes a period for them to settle that down and get back in the fight. So I think it's a great thing that they've taken these generals out. Being a former general, I can tell you that they're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, that video you're just seeing is actually from Mariupol. You talked about the Javelin missiles. That's the Javelin taking out one of the Ukrainian tanks. Back here to the big map, as well as the Ukrainians have done in the north, they've also done pretty well with this defense holding off the Russians at Odessa, which is their last port city that they hold there. You've got the Russians making pretty good moves north here. They've hit here, one of the big industrial towns on the Dnieper River. It looks like they're trying to cut off this large Ukrainian force that's been pinned down in the east that they almost certainly will then just crush and slaughter. How long till this goes from being a force-on-force war to an insurgency war, and how does that change things?
Well, I think the key is Kyiv. Once they take Kyiv, then I think that that is when they really are going to see the insurgency come out full blown. You know, the Ukrainians have had plenty of time now to prepare for this. They're outgunned, they're outnumbered. In every category, they're the underdogs, but in one category, and that is their purpose. They have a purpose for fighting.
Yeah.
And it is all about the future of their nation, the future of their families. And they are fighting with such tenacity that I don't think we could speculate precisely how long they're going to hold out before they go into an all-out insurgency. But make no mistake, they will fight to the last, and they will have a very tough insurgency that's going to take out a lot of Russians. And that has already gotten the attention of moms back home.
Yeah, you make an excellent point in terms of having the moral high ground in war. Von Clausewitz, I know, made that point. We think about where the Russians are going to have to focus. Mariupol, we've seen them shelling a significant amount, but in the cities that they're going to end up fighting, Kharkiv, obviously in Kyiv, they're going to have to fight. And certainly if they want to go into the West, they're going to fight in the cities, something the Russians are not trained in, something that foreign fighters, especially from the Middle East, are. Here's Vladimir Putin just earlier today talking about bringing in foreign fighters. Take a listen.
Если вы видите, что есть люди, которые хотят на добровольной основе, тем более не за деньги, приехать и оказать помощь людям, проживающим на Донбассе, ну что же, надо пойти им навстречу и помочь им перебраться в зону боевых действий.
And he says there's 16 or 17,000 Syrians and other foreigners who are ready to come fight. Who knows whether to believe that or not? But you think about Kharkiv, General, where the Russians have had to go around it because of how fierce the fighting is. They're heading off towards Kyiv there. But the city of Kharkiv they've held out in. Would the foreign fighters make a difference if this turns into an insurgency war?
Well, first of all, ask yourself why Vladimir Putin needs them. Why is he willing to even consider letting people from the Middle East or some other part of the world come in and fight for him? And it is because I think his military has been an embarrassment to him. I think that he thought that this was an opportunity to showcase his first-rate military, and they have done anything but that. I think it's an embarrassment. So ask yourself, why does he need them? Why would he let them come in? Second thing is, obviously, more guns, more boots on the ground. Certainly that could be a help to him. And but I tell you what, I think that from my perspective, Leland, in almost every category, he's already lost this war. Now, he may take the nation. He may take Ukraine. But he's lost this war in so many categories now. He's unified Europe. He's unified NATO. He's ruined his own reputation worldwide. I think even the Chinese are relooking whether they really want the kind of alliance that they've had with him. Yeah. So I think that he's lost in every category except ultimately he may take the country.
Yeah, when the emperor has no clothes, it's a lot easier not to be behind him. And the Chinese point is an excellent one. So much, General, of whether or not the Ukrainians are going to be able to hold out depends on the supply lines. This is obviously Poland. The airport, the NATO airport that everything's being flown into is up here just about 100 miles from Lviv. There's a road that leads down here from Lviv. And then the supply lines of this resupply of Javelin missiles, Stinger missiles, and the like come out to all the Ukrainian forces from there. Over the past 24 hours, the Russians have started a lot of air attacks here in some of the industrial cities out in the west. They're rehitting Lviv, the like. There's been some hits here and here, conceivably on those supply lines. How secure and for how long can these supply lines and the ability to get the Ukrainians these weapons last?
Well, first of all, the Russians realize how critical that is to the Ukrainians. So you can bet that it's only a matter of time, and it's not going to be that long before they're going to do everything they can to shut off that supply line. That is almost a single point of failure with regards to the support to the Ukrainians right now. So they're going to go after that. They're going to try to shut it down. But look, right now, We just need to keep pumping as much as quickly as we can through that pipeline while it's still open.
You make a great point in terms of how the Russians view that, although their forces are still a long way away, getting a little closer to being able to close it off around Kyiv. General Boykin, it's always good to see you, sir, and a pleasure when you can join us. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Leland.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.